And this is just amusing more than anything. Flat Earth.
Oh, okay.
So I watched a clip from a National Geographic documentary called Flat Earth versus Round Earth. Okay. And this is how this guy sort of tried to explain the flat Earth theory. So you have this obviously disc world, this flat world. The North Pole is at the centre.
Okay.
All the continents are dotted around this sort of edge of the North Pole, and then you have Antarctica stretched around the outside.
Okay.
And apparently, this is me quoting him, and the stars are just lights in the sky.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Well, this right.
What the fuck do you mean they're just lights in the sky?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing about the stars is that, you know what you were saying about people's ignorance or their lack of thought about what they did, right? Regardless of whether the Earth is flat or round, that doesn't mean you need an explanation for the stars.
Yeah.
That has no impact on whether the Earth is flat or round.
The people just haven't thought about it. People have jumped on this idea and just are so obsessed with it that they're not even trying to work out the realisticness of it.
Yeah, the actually what they have to address in order to deal with it. And it's like the people have circumnavigated the globe. What happens on the other side?
Why didn't they fall off? Why hasn't anyone fallen off? Why aren't there any reports of anyone falling off the edge of the Earth?
Well, okay, let's unpack this a little bit. So first off, obviously you have to decide if you're a flat earther, you have to decide whether the Earth is flat and floating in space,
or whether it's flat and space is above it.
Exactly. And then you have to say, okay, if it's flat and space is above it, what's underneath us? And then you have to go, right, okay, well, is there anything underneath us, or is it just the void?
Oh, God. Oh, no.
And if it's the void, if you walk off the edge, do we still have some sense of gravity?
Yeah.
Right? So is there another side to the flat Earth? Can you go all the way around it? Because then what you
is gravity pushing upwards on that other side, for example?
Exactly. Exactly right. So it's like, okay, is it just a flat world where like you can only travel in this one plane, or can you go around it? Because you have to explain how people have circumnavigated the globe. On top of that, if the Arctic Circle's in the middle and the Antarctic's around the edge, why are they about the same size? Because the center of a circle, if you basically take in a smaller circle,
and then a huge
outer. So they're going to have different volumes. You can also walk directly across the Antarctic. You don't have to walk like round it, and it doesn't take longer to go around. Yeah, like if you circumnavigated the Antarctic, if you walked around the edge of the South Pole, basically, it's not going to take. That's not the furthest you can walk on Earth. That's not the furthest distance you could travel. But if it was a disc world, like Terry Pratchett,
then that would be the longest possible
exactly
time you could be walking.
Whereas really what we see is the people that are taking the longest journeys in one direction, they see a whole plethora of different habitats.
Places.
Different climates. They pass the equator. They go around basically as many examples as you possibly could. They're not just flying around, like a frozen tundra. For the whole journey. There's just there's basically there's no real evidence
at all. And I think the thing that pisses me off the most about the sort of people that subscribe to this idea is they won't listen to any evidence that disagrees with them. For example, on that documentary I was watching, they did a boat test where they put someone on a boat with a big striped flag, and they sort of drove off into the distance, expecting to see if the Earth is round, the curvature as the stripes slowly disappear into the water. And that did happen. And then the people are basically trying to go, it's something to do with the temperature. What? Sorry? What do you mean it's something to do with the fucking temperature?
I would imagine.
And that's all they said as well. They didn't explain what they meant.
Okay, so I'd imagine, let's give them the benefit of the doubt here. Let's say, like heat mirages.
Yeah. Right. Oh, right. Yeah.
So they're probably saying the temperature closer to the water is warmer because water is good at holding heat when it has heat already.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we could be trying to imply
the heat, like almost heat waves, will cause some sort of distortion.
Exactly. Yeah. You're basically getting a heat mirage, and that's covering it up. But you can see a heat mirage.
Yeah.
You know it's a heat mirage. Yeah. Like you can see.
Whereas to literally see stripes of a flag, like periodically going down one by one, you can't really argue with that.
No.
The only thing you could reasonably argue is it's the waves. But then you'd see it dip in and out rather than consistently going down.
Yeah.
The thing I don't get is where like this. There seemed to be a big spark in the belief of flat Earth over the last few years, and I can't understand where that's come from.
I think what you're seeing is increased connectedness of the global population.
So more of these people are talking to more people and they have more of a platform. That's what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
I think you'll keep seeing more with stuff like this. Think about it. Some of these things that we're going to go through, right? In the past, before the advent of the internet, before this hyperconnectivity that we've got going on, you would have had there would have been. I mean, I've never met a legitimate flat earther. Not in person. I've never actually had a proper conversation with someone who really believes that flat Earth is a real thing.
Yeah.
Before, most people would have been like that. Most people would have been completely unaware of some of these conspiracies. Most of these.
Whereas with the added connectivity, as you're saying, that modern sort of civilization has brought, that doesn't just give good ideas a platform; it gives all ideas a platform.
Yeah.
Sure, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, and you're seeing this swelling of currents that are from this area of people that are very
susceptible to.
Yeah, I was going to say paranoid about government activity and what the big
being
picture
told
is.
what we're being told.
I think this is what I was going to say earlier. I think what it really comes down to is this: people want to believe there's something bigger going on. People want to believe, and I think there's a playoff between sort of Area 51, Roswell, and Flat Earth here, right? Either if you're that type of person that wants there to be something bigger, either you can go, there's something bigger out there, out in the stars, there's something bigger happening, and the government's hiding it from us, or you can say, there's something bigger happening here, the government's hiding from us, that the government are doing. And that's what you're seeing, right?
Right.
You're seeing this playoff between, is the bigger thing
the government's doing something and they don't want us to know, or the government knows something and they don't want us to know.
Exactly. People just want there to be something bigger.
And I suppose that's maybe even these conspiracy theorists are a sort of direct or indirect progression of religion. Like you're saying, a want there to be something, a want of there being something more, and with science, increasingly so, in my opinion, disproving a lot of religious ideas. These people are moving on to scientific religion, so subscribing to really out there notions instead of religion,
right?
Because they don't have the ground to believe in these religions.
Right. So you're saying that people are looking for a thing with any evidence to believe in, something that they can work the evidence through, whereas religion, because it's faith-based, you can't work through the evidence. That kind of defeats the point of religion.
It's like the religion and the science coming together. The people who subscribe to religion are now looking at the world in a scientific way, but in a faithful way as well, putting a lot on the line, sort of thing. If that makes sense.
Right. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because that's what you've got. You've got people who are going, well, essentially, they're working on a little bit of evidence, and then the rest is just they believe that it happened, so it happened. Which is exactly the same kind of mindset as you'd see from a religious person.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So you're saying that now that science is the advent of science, it's the age of scientific reasoning, that people that normally would have been religious are seeing that maybe that's not the thing to go with,
but are still distrusting of current ideas.
Sure.